Hello, everybody. It's great to see you here. Michel Friedman, Dalia Grinfeld, I'm really happy to talk to you. To talk a very violent topic. The Republica it's really a nice space that talks about all these topics. We are happy to be here. I'm addressing you as a friend. I'm going to, before I say a couple of words to you, I want to start very concrete. Many people, but especially Jewish people all over the world, there's been a world before October 7, 2023 and after October 2023. And I want to ask you, Dalia, are you walking differently through the world? And if so, how? I have to say that I'm Jewish, but I'm also professionally involved with anti-Semitism. I read studies about anti-Semitism, what happens in the world, and there's, as you said, there's a world before and a world after. For many Jews in the world, we talk about life before and life after October 7th, and what changes the realities of life. There's been a huge rise of anti-Semitism in the world, and people started changing their names on Uber and Volt. They turned around the mezuzah on the house, the blessing on the house. So since the global jihad on Jews that was announced on October 7th, 75% of Jewish schools have been closed down because the parents are afraid, and these life realities have changed completely. You walk around the street and think about it 3 times. So Jewish life in Germany was always closed down. I'm a political activist. I've worked to make diverse Jewish life more visible, and Jewish life wasn't always publicly available, and these progress we've made has gone back a lot because we have to protect everybody. So, for example, in Heidelberg yesterday, people wanted to disrupt Jewish life, and that's the life reality of everybody. Every friend in my life, and my Jewish friend has it's a 24/7 topic for everybody. They live and experience it. If you walk around the world, it's in your head 24/7. Have we slept on the topic before that? The Deputy Director for European topics on the Anti-Defamation League, that's Dalia Grinfeld, and she's on the expert group on anti-Semitism in the Berlin Senate, but she's also as an anti-Semitism expert in the queer scene. And yeah, so Michel, what has changed for you? I'm here because I'm a human. Who's also Jewish. One of these things have changed dramatically, that I also am Israeli. That's new. I'm not an Israeli. Especially do I have special competences talking about Middle East? Nor am I the deputy spokesperson for the government of Israel. And one of the terrible insults that you have is that I'm supposed to be not to be German. So these change in respect to me and many Jews in Germany. They scream death to the Jews. They're not screaming death to the Israelis. They scream death to the Jews, and that's what affects me directly, and that makes me sad, because as I'm German, because if you're active for people as me, and I'm active against any kind of discrimination against people, then you expect that maybe from society. People would say, I protect you the same way I protect others, and that this happens. This would be the potential for violence is enormous. The readiness to help is minimized, and that's difficult in our society, not only in this topic, and that's why I'm happy to talk about this here. And without a group starting to scream here. There's a, it's good that, no matter what you talk about, people start screaming, and I'm happy to talk about this. And you have to be, make yourself clear that we're talking about hate. Terror organizations, and especially the Hamas on October 7, they dehumanize their victims. And if you take away the humanness of your victims, then you have to, as a human, you have to stand up and say stop. If the motives are, I want to say that hate is not really discriminatory. It doesn't choose. Has hate in the political space always takes hate is very hungry, and it takes any kind of victims, because of course my religion as a human being is always exposed to hate, and I don't understand why this hate because by the conflict in the Middle East triggers so much hate towards me as a human being in German. And if people are eaten up by this kind of hate, then the hate gets even more hungry. And so the reasonings for these hate is always pseudo reasonings, and it doesn't matter whether you're Jewish or just wear glasses. And this is my duty to go in there against the hate, and I wish for the empathy for everybody in this room to say no. I'm against this. It's for me as Michel Friedman, but everybody else, I protect them and they protect me, and this is the promise for human rights and a democracy. These are points for this. You very, very vehemently stand, and we've known each other for many years, and I've been watching this for many years, and you say this very fearlessly, and I'm really thankful for this. But you also make this very clear in your writings, for example, against hate against Jews. Well, I'm a man of the word, and anti-Semitism creates a lot of distance, and it disguises something what it is about, and it's about a hate against people, and in this case against Jews, and it's about me as a human being. Violence is not acceptable. Neither intellectual arson nor physical arson, and this counts as a guarantee to everybody living in this society. And then I'm very outspoken and very motivated, as strong as ever before, to ask the questions: how do we want to talk to each other? How do we want to debate things about existential things like racism, hate against Jews, war, peace, things that create social justice? But these are the questions that that are the basis and for everything, and we need to
And that is extremely motivating in a time where so many things are going wrong, to say that, yes, I'm open for debate, I respect the people I talk to, and I expect that we can find arguments. And it's not about having the opinions that we share or not share, but it's about a culture that is curious for the best argument to develop together and proceed and progress. And that's why I'm happy to be here today and discuss the before and after. And while we're here, I think that is the oxygen for humans. Yes, and I agree that that is very important, that we can have these discussions. Michel Friedman, author, publicist, and also author of a recent pamphlet that you can read up on. So let's see how we can, as a society, maybe come back to a more constructive conversation. And I'm wondering, as not only a Jew that lives in Germany, how this discussion is going. So the phenomenon we're currently observing, maybe in some university campuses, also in Germany, this has been coming for a long time. If we look back at Documenta, that in certain bubbles, post-colonialism has been a top-of-mind topic. And in how far is the Holocaust a singular event, or is it just a human rights violation at scale? And this discussion has progressed to a point where it seems conversations aren't even possible anymore. And I think that is really scary. And I think lots of people feel threatened by that as well. And that is something that I observe also in my direct environment. How do you explain that? How could this spiral become so tightly wound, and what maybe have we missed? What can we also, as a federal Germany culture of memorization, what have we missed? What can we do better? So in the past, I often said that what we're lacking in Germany is an understanding of Jewish life, for the diversity, and that there's different opinions, different origins, different looks. And that's an argument for me why we don't understand what Jewish life is. And now after October 7th, I would retract that a little bit. I think it's still a problem that we have to work on. But I could say now anti-Semitism is an issue that everybody needs to deal with. And I still think it's true, everybody in here, but also outside. It's something that's important to everyone. But the question is, how do we deal with minorities? And I think Michel also touched on that. Anti-Semitism is important for everyone because it's about hostility to democracy. So if you acknowledge, or if you tolerate anti-Semitism in a country, then you also tolerate that our society, as free and just as we imagine it, that this society doesn't exist, and it cannot exist. And even worse, that this democracy is in the process of being destroyed. And I think that is something that we missed to teach people, that anti-Semitism is not just an issue for people on a stage or Jewish people specifically, but that's the ideology behind it. And you mentioned the university campuses, and there is a ideology behind that treats Israel as part of a global white hegemony and can act as a shared enemy for all kinds of movements, including the climate movement and justice movements. So this idea of Israel being a shared enemy has spread, and that means not only, for example, Jewish students are suffering from that. For example, here, Jewish students often are afraid to go to university on their own, so they started WhatsApp groups. They go together in groups. So just this threat to Jewish life in Germany and UK, where you have graffitis, where you have public demonstrations, and that is threatening. And this shared idea of Israel as the enemy has led to there being too few people in all over Europe that say, okay, stop anti-Semitism because this is anti-Semitic. And that is something that I'm personally missing. So yeah, I would like to pick up on that. I think whichever group is being discriminated against, and I would just like to say that our world and our democracy lives and dies with the idea of human rights, of universal human rights. And I think universal human rights are such an awesome idea. We have less than 7.8% of the global population live in democracies that have that have a guarantee of universal human rights. So these universal human rights are not divisible. As soon as we start to question the human rights of any group, it is our shared responsibility as a society for ourselves and for our believability, for our trustworthiness also, to commit to these human rights. The second thought that I would like to add to what you just said is Israel today is the Jew amongst the nations. When I look at Yemen or other parts of the world where you have the civil population, where Saudi Arabia and Iran are playing proxy wars, where you have Muslim groups being ejected from Myanmar, when I look at the different dictatorships in the world, then it's surprising that a democracy like Israel, where in these days 80,000 citizens, which would approximately be 800,000 citizens in Germany, for comparison, have demonstrated against the war. And that is something that cannot happen in Gaza. Nobody can protest in Gaza. So when you run a survey, Israel would still be named as a country that threatens the peace in the world like no other country. And we can ask ourselves, why is it like that? The hate against Jews comes from the anti-Jewish thought of the church, of the construction from the church. Several hundred years after Jesus' supposed death, the Catholic Church, as first global company to extend their missionaries across the world to spread the word of Christianity. And they had one specific argument that they always had in Tao, which was that the Jews have killed Jesus. But that sounds like a very old argument. This is something that they've been saying for thousands of years, but it's still a very deeply seated issue. And yes, this has burned itself into the cultural memory everywhere where Christianity exists. And it's only been a few decades that the Catholic Church has retracted this in the Second Vatican Concile. So for about 2,000 years, every week you told people in the congregation, the Jews have killed Jesus, so they are the historic enemy. But now you're not saying every week, oh, we were lying, we were wrong, the Jews are innocent. So, and we also keep hearing this term, the Christian Occident, and the idea that this is a Christian world is very deeply rooted in everybody's awareness. So, to quote, hating Jews is a rumor about the people, is one of the most concise definitions of anti-Semitism that I've heard. So, if you've ran into gossip in your private life as well, then this is a kind of gossip that can actually destroy people. It's not whether you're like left or right wing. There's left extremists on the left and right both that refer to these rumors and this gossip about Judaism. So spreading these kinds of rumors is one of the easiest things that will easily resonate in social media, or in newspapers and everything. So I ask everybody who sees this happen, when you read something like the Jews are the everything is the Jews' fault, respond, counter them. So at least that doesn't stand as the final word. Okay, so what we can read in digital culture. What are the consequences that has in the analog world? What do you see? So within the ADL, we did a study on what's the probability that somebody is anti-Semitic if people believe in other conspiracy theories? So the correlation is very strong. The more conspiracy theories people believe, the higher the degree of anti-Semitism for that person as well. And in the same study, we also looked at how many of these conspiracy ideologies, these ideas that go around the internet, how high is the probability that people there actually act on them in real life? There's a large community that is digitally active. And the widest span, that's also growing the quickest, is the span of people that take ideas from the digital sphere and enact them in the physical sphere. And we've seen that activists in these areas are now networking across international borders.
Ist, dass man sich gegenseitig nicht nur beeinflusst, sondern
And they influence each other, they join forces, and now they're also giving each other tips on how to get the message through. They hype each other up. They say, you're doing great, continue doing this. And this is one of the reasons that we get more and more violence as well. So when we used to have maybe 10 cases per year in Berlin, now it's much higher. And so we see people are losing their inhibitions. They become ready and willing to take universal human rights and human dignity away from others. So it goes beyond the digital sphere, and we cannot leave. We cannot let these things happen in the digital sphere because they keep feeding themselves. They keep growing. And already we see that young Jewish people are hiding their identity on social media. So, so maybe they don't post about celebrating Rosh Hashanah. But if you have to hide your identity for years and tens of years, and you always remember that there was a time where you couldn't live your identity, that is something that resonates for a long time. And why shouldn't it be possible? We have so many Jews, we have so few Jews in the world. So conspiracy theory goes that there's actually more Jews than what statistics say, because that's a way for the Jews to keep everyone thinking that, the Jews are only very few people, so it's not really an issue, which is obviously not true. But it doesn't matter what the number is. It's not a very young topic. It's something that affects all of our lives. Is that due to a recent study, 22% of people in Germany could imagine to vote for AfD, the German right-wing party. So what I'm saying now is I'm not saying this as a Jew, but there is the principle of human rights. That's something that George Tabori, one of the most important authors in the theater space, said that everyone is someone, and the AfD, the right-wing party, says some people are nobody and they don't deserve these human rights. So you could say nobody is nobody, but that's very passive. I go back to the sentence saying that everybody is somebody. So if 22% of German youth support, if 80% of German youth support that everybody is somebody, then we have 22% of people that would willingly sacrifice the first article of the German Constitution guaranteeing human dignity. So just the fact that we can sit here and say anything and then go out, and we don't have to be afraid to be taken in by state police or something. If you do the same thing in Russia, if you do the same thing in Tehran, if you do the same thing in Moscow, then you couldn't say this. So if you think being here is super courageous, then you didn't get it. Thank you very much. This was short and sweet. I hope you could take something from this. I wish you lots of good debate today. Stay safe. keep your nerves. Bye.